1. All right. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Welcome to another episode of the Deportation Defense Live. Thank you so much for being here. All right. My name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today, on this special edition of the Deportation Defense Live, we're going to be talking about asylum petitions, and we're going to be talking about the form I-730. And so stick around for that as we discuss asylum. And so, welcome. Thank you for being here. Remember, the Deportation Defense Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants who are facing deportation to make the most out of immigration laws, to make the most out of their lives, and to win their cases. All right? Are you facing removal in immigration court, or do you know someone who's facing removal in immigration court? Because if so, you know that it is not easy. All right? It is an uphill battle. The laws are against us. And here at the Deportation Defense Live, we are here to maximize your chances of winning that case. All right? So my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today, thank you so much for joining me. We're talking about asylum petitions, which are done on the form I-730. And so welcome. And whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me here today. All right, so the basics about an asylum petition is that if you win asylum, and so yes, you have to win asylum first. You have to fight your case in front of the asylum office, or you have to fight your court case and be successful and get that order granting you asylum. If you win asylum first, then you may file petitions for spouses and children to join you, and they join you in asylee status. All right, they join you as derivative asylees. And those petitions are not automatic. All right, and these petitions, they have time limits. And these petitions have evidence that have to be submitted on, with them in order to get approved. And so that's what I want to talk about today. That's what we're discussing. Is as I discuss this topic, if you have any questions, feel free to send me your questions. Not a problem. Okay? So for I-730 law, for asylum petitions law, there's a few things you got to know. All right? First of all, you can only submit this if you are the principal asylee. All right? If you yourself are a derivative asylee, for example, if you're the child of your parents and your parents won asylum, so now you're a derivative asylum holder, you can't file an I-730 if you're not the principal. Okay? So I wanted you to be aware of that. Second thing you got to know is who you can file for. All right? This is only for spouses and unmarried children under the age of 21. All right? So who can you file for? If you just won asylum, you can file for unmarried children under 21 and for your spouse. And that's it. Okay? And so you can't file for parents. You can't file for siblings. You have to win citizenship in order to file for those people. Okay? And if your child is over 21, then you got to at least become a permanent resident first before you can petition them. And the proper way to do those types of petitions is on the I-130, not the I-730. Okay? So who can you file for? Spouses and or your unmarried child under 21, unmarried children under 21. Okay? And when you file, you have to show two things. You have to show that the relationship existed before you won your case, before you were granted asylum, and you must show that your relationship continues to exist. All right? And there is a caveat, the Child Status Protection Act. So you've got to show that the relationship with your child existed before you were granted asylum. All right? And so let's talk about some caveats there, right? And you've got to show it continues to exist. So if your child becomes 21 after you file the I-730, it's okay as long as they stay unmarried during the process. And as long as they were under 21 on the date that the I-730 got filed. They can't get married during the process, though. So don't have them get married. All right? So what about stepchildren? Right? You married your spouse, and the spouse has a child, but that child is not biologically your child. Can you include stepchildren? The answer is yes. All right? In immigration law, this isn't true just for the I-730. This is for all petitions. Children can be included as your child as long as the marriage between you and their parent happened before the child turned 18. Then you are lawfully the child's step-parent, and you can petition for them. Okay? So that's the way that works. That's the way that works. Hope that's useful. Hope that's helpful. Now, there is a time limit that's important to discuss whenever we're talking about I-730s. You must file an I-730 within 2 years of winning asylum. All right? And there is an exception, right? If you can file a detailed humanitarian explanation of why you couldn't file in the 2 years, you know, if you were sick or something like that, then you can get around the 2-year deadline. But typically, you got to file within 2 years after winning your asylum status. All right? And the other time limit is you have to file before you become a U.S. citizen. Because after you become a U.S. citizen, then the proper form is the I-130, not the I-730. Okay? So let me put this in kind of some context for you, and maybe this will help make it make sense. So imagine right now you're filing for asylum, and imagine your spouse is here, all right, and you're already married. In that case, it's typically, you know, talk to a lawyer, because there are some situations where this might not make sense, but it's typically best to include your spouse as a derivative in your asylum case right now, not to wait and to file an I-730 after you win. Why? Who knows why? The most common reason why is so that your spouse can get a work permit during the years that your asylum case is pending, which can take a long time. All right? So if you include your spouse and your children in your asylum case now, while you're all here, then now your spouse and child, they don't have to go through a whole new petitioning process. They will win asylum when you win asylum, if you win. All right? But they could also be subject to deportation proceedings with you in deportation proceedings if you lose. So that's always the balance, right? But typically, it's like, man, if you're filing for asylum, your spouse is here, your children are here, let's do it. Because you want to get them work permits, all right? You want them to have all the benefits and the protections that come with seeking asylum under U.S. law, okay? So that's one scenario. But imagine a different scenario. Imagine that you get married after you file. Maybe you came to the U.S. together, but you didn't get married until after you filed your case, right? Well, then, you know, at that point, then, okay, and you filed for asylum, you've got your work permit, etc. And now it's like, okay, after you win, now you can petition your spouse on Form I-730. Okay? And now what about this scenario? What about this scenario? Imagine that you're here fighting for asylum, but your spouse or your children are in your home country. Then what do? Well, then you can't include them in your asylum application. Instead, you gotta wait. You've got to win your case first. And after you win your asylum case, then you can file the I-730 petition to bring them in, all right, for spouses and unmarried children under 21. Okay? That's the way it works, all right? That's the way it works. So couple of things that are often questions that, and if you have a question about asylee petitions, feel free to send them over. But a couple of things that come up that are often questions, all right? What if I didn't win asylum, but instead I won, quote unquote, withholding of removal? Can I do this? All right? Answer is no, you can't. All right? Withholding of removal doesn't give a person the right to file petitions for their family. All right? It's one of the reasons that asylum is so much better than withholding of removal is. Okay? Another thing, I mentioned it, the time limit, but I really hate it. I really hate it when I'm sitting in my office and a client comes in and they're married and they want asylum, and it's like, let's look at the date of when you won asylum. Oh, I won asylum back in 2019. And I'm married. When did you get married? Oh, we've been married for years. Why didn't you file this? Right? And now we got to come up with some kind of crazy reason for why the delay in filing. No, you got to file this petition within 2 years of the grant of your asylum status, right? And but my spouse was afraid, or whatever, or we didn't talk it through, or she had been caught crossing the border, or there's lots of issues that might come up that makes a person afraid to file this type of case. But oh my gosh, the benefits of it are enormous. Like, talk it through with a lawyer, request all those records for your spouse, right? Because if they're here and if you're married and if you've won asylum, like, don't wait. Don't wait. Like, let's talk it through. Let's get good advice. Let's get the case underway if it's a wise case to adjudicate. And sometimes if there are weird complications involved, which sometimes there are, right? Well, that's what lawyers are for, right? Like, let's request all those records first. Let's review them first, and that'll take several months. But that's a much better thing to have underway rather than having to, rather than not getting benefits and getting status for your spouse, right? Or for your children. So that's what I got, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I've got. I don't see that there are any questions that have come in, so that's fine. Alec B, I see you there. Thank you for being here as always. And Alan Rudy, hello, I see you there. And Joel Cinto, hello, I see you here on Instagram. And By the Bay, and Bolarasha, and Sharif, hello. And Fabir Vane, hello. To all my friends on Instagram, thank you all so much for being here. All right. So my final thing, which I always like to do, is I want to wrap up with a brief empowerment tip. All right. So my empowerment tip today, it's this: manage your time. Manage your time by focusing on things that are not urgent, but that are important. All right. Manage your time. Hear me out. If you master this, you'll be a master. Manage your time by focusing on things that are not urgent, but that are important. All right, this comes from Stephen Covey's classic book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What are those things? Not urgent, but important. What are they? Well, things like learning a new skill. Things like reviewing your schedule and planning ahead for it. Things like creating and writing down your goals. Things like planning on how to improve your financial situation, like reviewing your expenses and income carefully to find opportunities. That's not an urgent thing, right? Things like calling a friend or cultivating a relationship. Those things are not urgent, right? But they are important. And if you can focus on those things that are not urgent, but that do matter, your life will get better. All right? So the question is like, hey, in your life, are you putting out fires all day long? Are you handling frustrations one after the other? And it's like some people spend their lives, their days, going from one urgent thing, one fire, to the next, to the next. And then they get so tired, all they want to do is go home and watch TV and do something useless to relax. Right? And the way to stop doing that is to think about your life and your time differently and to start managing your time by focusing on things that are not urgent, but that could actually improve your life if you get them done. So anyway, I wanted to share that. Thank you. All right, Clydesdale, I see your question coming in. Thank you for this. So if you were admitted on an I-220 and was released on your own recognizance, but the court was dismissed and granted without prejudice, saying that your I-589 wasn't filed correctly, do you start over and apply for asylum? Can I have my girlfriend file as a supporter for my sister and my child back in Cuba? Okay, lots of things going on, Clydesdale. Thank you for asking this question. All right. If the court, let me answer two separate things. All right. One is if the court dismissed your case and granted the dismissal without prejudice, all right, saying that your I-589 wasn't filed correctly, but not keeping you in deportation proceedings, all right, do you start over and can you apply for asylum? So often, yes, you can apply for asylum. If your case is dismissed in court, you can apply for asylum affirmatively in front of the asylum office. All right? So often you can. Whether or not it's wise to is a different story. And for that, you might want to talk to a lawyer. All right? And you might want to have a lawyer first request all your FOIAs and really review what's happened. Okay? Second question is, can I have my girlfriend file as a quote-unquote supporter? So there are certain parole processes, all right? And the answer is yes, as long as your girlfriend has some kind of immigration status. You know, they have to be a U.S. citizen, a green card holder, pending asylum applicant, have a TPS, have to have some kind of immigration status in order to serve as a supporter. And as long as they have that, then yes, they could file for a parole request since your sister and her child are citizens of Cuba, right? Right now, the government is receiving those requests for nationals of Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, Venezuela, Ukraine, and Afghanistan, all right? I hope I mentioned them all. I think I did. All right. And so anyway, yes, you could do that. So Clydesdale, thank you very much for asking that question. I hope that clarified that. And if you have specific questions that you want to discuss, hey, please feel free to give our office a call. We're here to help. We'd love to help. All right. That is the end of our training here today, of our episode here today of the Deportation Defense Live. And so thank you all so much for being here. If you still have a question that I haven't answered, right, please still send it my way. And I answer those questions on videos, all right? And so we upload those videos to our channel in YouTube. And so if you want to see those, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our channel in YouTube. And when you do that, hit the notifications bell in YouTube, and you can get an additional notification when we upload additional videos with updates and news, etc. All right? And as always, if you have an immigration case, hey, please give us a call. We are here to help. We would love to help. All right? My name is Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C., where we fight for your American dream. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you next time on our next episode of the Deportation Defense Live.